Donald Trump continues to have an issue with the women vote. So he only has about 38% of women saying that they would vote for him in the general election. So as a result, he has softened his tone and some of his misogyny when it comes to women. But there have been a number of issues with this convention that shows that the problem continues. For instance, there was an event on Monday, the first day of the convention, that was supposed to be held for women who are supportive of Trump. And it turns out that pretty much no one showed up. Okay, so a reporter from a British freelance reporter tweeted a picture of empty seats at the event, showing that not very many women were interested. That's Laurie Penny's tweet. And then about an hour later, Oliver Laughland, who is a journalist for The Guardian, tweeted this, showing that a few women showed up. So it turns out that there are some supporters. But again, it's symbolic. It shows just how few women plan on voting for him in the general election.
And let's be clear there. She said that most of the people in those seats were reporters and their interns.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad that the panelists had to ask each other questions at the end. You know, usually there's a Q&A.
For the Q&A, yeah.
How is that even, like, I don't get how that's possible. I understand if he just went, like, I'm going to Miami, I'm going to do a Women for Trump thing. Maybe people don't show up.
Yeah.
This is the Republican convention?
I know.
With thousands of delegates, at least the slight majority who, like you, some of them have got to be women. They're your supporters. They don't even show up.
It's strange. It almost makes me think, I mean, I don't want to defend him, but it's like they didn't get word out. I mean, there are women here who would go to that.
That's
if only he was
part
ever
of it.
on like Twitter or something, he could like advertise these things.
That's probably part of it. But, you know, if you look at the broader picture, the tone, the rhetoric, the vitriol, you know, toward women is clear, it's loud, you see it. It might not be coming from Trump himself at the moment, but you see it in the type of things that are being sold, the type of commentary that's being used against Hillary Clinton. I am not a Hillary Clinton fan, per se, but I don't like the sexist rhetoric that you hear from some right-wingers. So I'll give you guys some examples, okay? Best example is something that Scott Baio had tweeted yesterday. It was a meme featuring Hillary Clinton, and behind her, I'm just gonna say it, it says cunt, right? And Scott Baio says, best meme I've seen yet.
And puts the picture,
and puts it up on Twitter.
When did he tweet that, yesterday?
No, he tweeted
that.
I think he tweeted on July 10th.
Okay, so he tweeted it a while ago.
About a week ago.
A week ago. But, you know, people were still talking about it yesterday because he was one of the main speakers during the first night of the convention. Also, keep in mind that when it comes to the certain, you know, items that are being sold around the convention, you have these disgusting buttons. We have examples of them for you. One button says, life's a bitch, don't vote for Hillary, or don't vote for one, okay, and it has a picture of Hillary. There's a Donald Trump shirt that features Donald Trump punching Hillary. She's on the floor.
I tell you, though, he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, surprisingly.
It probably works out.
That's Muhammad Ali. That's his body.
Yeah,
that's right.
Well, orange is the new black.
Yeah, there are some problems with this, beyond just the violence.
So the one that I really want to draw attention to is the KFC one. So let's get to that. It says KFC Hillary special, 2 fat thighs, 2 small breasts, left wing. Now look, I don't agree with a lot of Hillary's politics, but how can you be a woman and vote for a Republican, especially when you see stuff like that at the RNC? It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. They don't like you. They don't see you as an equal. They think that you are beneath men. You see stuff like that, and I just don't get it. I mean, I'm beyond disgusted with some of the stuff I'm seeing out here.
Yeah, it's gross. It's gross.
So, look, you can take some of it and argue the Muhammad Ali picture is an iconic one. Now, if someone suggested that on a campaign I was working with, like, I get it, she's my opponent.
Yeah, knock out the opponent politically.
Knock out the opponent, I get it. But let's not do this, because I'm a man and she's a woman. That doesn't look good, okay? But you can argue that one. I would say, no, don't go anywhere near that. But you can't argue the bitch and the C word. Okay, that's Scott Baio. But then they invited him to be a speaker.
Exactly.
I mean, that's unbelievable. Okay.
Cameron.
No, he was on MSNBC this morning. I walked by him as I was coming in. I have not seen it. I don't think they asked him about the cunt meme.
Scott, I saw part of it, and I read, Tamron Hall took him apart.
She did?
Okay,
She did.
good.
Okay, good.
But because
I should have known it was her.
If a Democrat had called Sarah Palin that word, I mean, Martin Bashir got fired for saying less about Sarah Palin, not in the middle of the campaign, but many, many years later.
Right.
Yeah.
If a Democrat had said that about Sarah Palin, and then he got to speak at the Democratic convention,
Yeah.
all hell would have broken loose.
So, by the way, in regard to Scott Baio, the thing that drives me crazy is this self-righteous, I'm better than you because I'm religious bullshit, right?
There it is.
And nothing says that better than his quote about how he felt when he was asked to speak at the RNC. Here's what he said. On plane to the RNC convention, Mr. Trump invited me with short notice. I sat in church yesterday and wrote my speech. I prayed about what to say to the American people.
Oh.
You prayed about it? Okay, so you tweet out memes that call women cunts, and then you have the audacity to talk about what a good moral person you are because you went to church and you prayed. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, well, that's how they view morality. They don't view it as actually being a decent human being.
Yeah.
No, I did the ritual. And this is, by the way, broken down by scientists, what conservatives and liberals give different moral values to. And one of the things that conservatives give a lot of moral value to is ritual, tradition, the practicing of those rituals.
Yeah.
So he thinks by going to church, that makes me a more moral person. I don't actually have to do anything decent.
Yeah.
Whereas liberals value things like justice. And that's why conservatives will say, oh, social justice warriors. Ha, who would care about justice?
Yeah.
Because in their world, justice
They've
is
already
not
accomplished
as
it.
relevant a moral
Yeah.
thing as just doing a ritual.
Yeah.
Was
I,
she-
I,
Go ahead, sorry.
I think if I'm playing devil's advocate, which I always get so much credit for doing online, the buttons and stuff, Trump can't control that. That's sold outside of the convention. I mean, I would say the sorts of memes
those buttons are for sale in here.
in here,
Anna?
they're not out on the street.
No, they're out on the street. They're
Okay.
not
the
on
street.
sale in.
So
yeah.
I would still say if you're a woman, maybe you don't necessarily want to be a part of a party where it attracts that sort of thing, but he can't control that. But then you have the statement by Trump himself that women should be punished for having an abortion. He brings on a vice presidential candidate who says that women should be forced to pay for the burials of the fetuses from their abortions. It's the actual things that he says he's said in the past. Yeah, women can work if they want, but I know I get pissed off if I come home and dinner's not ready. I'm playing devil's advocate, but there are lots of good reasons directly attached to Donald Trump and both his rhetoric and the policies that he's proposed that if you're a woman, this guy's not for you. He doesn't. He's
That's
not
why
for
I
you.
mentioned Scott Baio, and he was invited to speak, by the way, relatively recently, because you're right. If the buttons being outside the convention rather than being inside the convention does make a difference. That's not just devil's advocate, because if they were inside, no, you can clean that up like that. If they had those kind of buttons inside the DNC, do you have any idea how quickly the Hillary Clinton people would throw them out?
Yeah.
Right? Now, but it's not inside the RNC. It's much harder to control the buttons outside the RNC.
Look, I get that. But the rhetoric that you get from these politicians, it allows for that kind of behavior and that kind
No
of speech
question.
toward women.
Yeah,
and
encourages
that's
it.
the reason why
Yeah.
I say, look, people get on me for being critical of women who vote for Republicans. But you got to understand, when you see not just rhetoric, but actual policy ideas pushed by Republican men that violate the rights of women, I don't understand how women vote for Republicans. I don't.
Mike Pence, I mean, we'll talk about it more tomorrow, obviously, because that's going to be a Mike Pence day. But I mean, his abortion law in Indiana, which
Yes.
thankfully was stopped by a federal judge, which again, if you're thinking about voting for someone other than Hillary Clinton, remember who appoints federal judges. The President of the United States is not just the Supreme Court, it's every appellate court judge, every federal circuit court judge in the country. And a federal judge stopped that law. There were women in the Indiana House who had never in their life voted anything other than anti-choice, pro-life, who, when seeing Mike Pence's bill, which went way beyond their bill, were like, I can't believe I'm about to vote against a pro-life bill, but I can't vote for this. This is too much. I can't believe Mike Pence is making me vote against a pro-life bill. It was extreme. He is extreme. What Trump said clearly and categorically and then backpedal on is essentially what he believes. I think. We don't know, but it's certainly what the people around him believe, which is that women who have an abortion should be punished.
Right.
Maybe not judicially, but shamed or economically, that they are to be punished for that kind of decision. And even if you're anti-abortion, the notion that you could cheer along people who diminish the rights, even if you're against abortion, diminish and disrespect those women is stunning.
Yeah.
And it's not just abortion. Okay, I understand that there are conservative women who don't agree with abortion, so they say, you know what, that's not enough for me to want to vote against a Republican candidate. There are several issues. They are very clear about how they do not believe in supporting equal pay. They're very clear about how they do not want to support mandatory paid maternity or paternity leave. So let me be clear about that. They don't care about supporting women, giving them the bare minimum to make them equals to men. And so with that said, it just does not make sense for any woman to support him. 38% is shocking to me.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually think that that's not that bad a number for Donald Trump.
Yeah, I know.
So, and let's be clear about Donald Trump himself. Look, he's made all those disparaging comments, sexualizing women, objectifying women, you know, whether it's talking about how hot they are or how they're not hot enough anymore. In the case of Heidi Klum, she's only a 9, and how they're disgusting fat pigs, all these things that he said about women. Okay, you could say, hey, back then he was a TV celebrity, you know, reality
which
show
is why
guy.
he should never be president.
Yeah, that's why he shouldn't be president. That's a fair point, John. But then in the middle of the campaign, saying about Megyn Kelly, she's bleeding from wherever. You know what he's saying to you when he says that? Oh, you women,
Yeah.
you know, you're all emotional.
Yep.
And you can't be trusted. And you hear that as a woman and you want to go, oh, yeah, that's great. That's my guy.
He
I think
retweeted the
38%
picture of Ted Cruz's wife. Oh, she's ugly. Obviously, don't vote for Ted Cruz. He's got an ugly wife.
Now, look, I'm a guy. Have I looked at women in a sexual way before? You betcha, right? Because we're all human beings. But there are different contexts that make sense. So you can do that if you're hanging out and you're trying to pick up girls and they're looking at you and you're looking at them. If you're running for president, that is not the context for when you take your opponent's wife and go, she's not hot enough, because you're objectifying people. That's an executive. She's a business executive that you're objectifying in that way. So I think 38% is actually a shockingly high number given the context.